Hi everybody, welcome to Cambridge Photography Week on Demand. We are chatting with local photographers and I'm delighted to have Francis Pullen with me today. Francis is retired, but photography is very much part of his life still. So we're going to chat about that. How you doing, Francis?
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm doing fine. Still enjoying photography, even in retirement.
Good man.
Despite the fact that I was a commercial photographer well over 20 years, and I earned my living from it. So it did pay me a wage, it paid my bills. Very hard work and quite frustrating at times. But my commercial work was mainly around weddings, portraits and corporate work. And I'd have a mixture of that. Weddings are very much like turning a handle on a sausage machine. And as soon as you've done one and done all the editing and the album design, you're on to the next one. So there wasn't always time during the week to do other things, but I did manage it every now and then. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, even though I started most of my commercial work still using film. And I didn't transition to fully digital until about 2003, mainly because I'd invested a lot of money in film equipment.
Fair enough, yeah.
But I still shoot film now. I love the process. I love seeing what comes out, the considered nature you have to have in using film, particularly medium format film, because you only usually get about 12 shots on a roll. So it can be a bit expensive if you rattle them off like you do with digital.
Yeah, definitely.
The thing I love about digital is exactly that. You can take as many shots as you like. You can experiment, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So that's quite good. Yeah, it's quite a good system, I think.
Well, it's we're actually at the Cambridge Autumn Photography Show at the Hilton on the 7th of October. Anyone who hasn't got their ticket, go get them now. General admission is free. We do actually have Ian, who's going to be talking about analog photography. He's got some pretty unique kit as well. So yeah, that's we definitely find that people come into the shop and talking to people online that there's still a special place for film photography, definitely. So it's definitely something close to our heart, and of course naturally our history as well. So it's a bit about, because we had a bit of our green room chat, a bit about how it started for you, photography. How did it start?
Yeah, it started when I used to live on the borders of East London and Kent. I had an uncle who lived not far away, and he was a very talented amateur photographer. And on the few occasions that we could meet up, he would take me out with his camera. It was a film camera, obviously, in those days, because it was some 60 years ago. And he would show me the essential things about photography, the exposure triangle, very essential. And we'd go back to his dark room, print the work of the day. And I've never forgotten that first time I saw an image coming out of a developing tray. It's such a magical experience. And for people who shoot entirely on digital, through no fault of their own, they will never understand that. You have to see it to believe it, as they say, and to appreciate it. And that's why I still shoot film, because I love that process.
It's lovely. It's kind of you. I mean, it's a long time since I've done any kind of like darkroom work, but I'm talking back at my school days, but that thing about being able to, you're kind of closer to the creating it, aren't you? I think it's kind of closer to the art of it. I think when you're actually developing it yourself is it's pretty amazing seeing it appear in front of your very eyes.
Yes, you have that connection between when you actually took the picture and what you saw and what the camera settings were, and then what appears before your eyes. I still think, as I say, that's a very magical process. And
so you're retired now, and you still keeping busy when it comes to your photography. Tell us a bit about that. What you doing from a photography perspective?
Yeah, I was self-employed for a good 23 years, and I retired in 2016. So I've been retired some 7 years now. But I still maintain photography as a very active hobby. I still do a lot of model shoots in studios. I do street photography. I do various themes photography. One is called Day for Night. One is people in cafes.
Nice.
And I do some nature photography and macro work. So I spread my skills and knowledge for what they're worth over different areas.
Lovely. And how do you kind of, I don't know, spend so much of your career, you know, being a photographer? One could argue that if you're having done that job for a big chunk of your career, you just kind of want to take a step away from it.
It's never been that way for me. I've always derived so much fun and so much pleasure and so much reward. Even when I photographed weddings for goodness me, nearly 20 years.
Yeah, okay.
I met some wonderful people, really lovely couples, lovely destinations to go to, and some who I still keep in contact with after all that time. And in fact, the very first wedding I photographed, the bride and groom asked me to photograph it in black and white because they'd seen some of my black and white portraiture work, and that was what they wanted.
When you look back think about the shots that you have, you know, which ones come to mind?
So one of the shots I'm particularly fond of was taken in a Polish restaurant in South Kensington.
Okay.
Which was infamous for having connections with the Profumo scandal affair of the 60s.
Oh, right. Okay.
Where Profumo, Christine Keeler, and the Russian attaché all used to go there and meet and eat.
Yeah.
And it was a favourite restaurant of mine and my brother's when we used to go to see some of the museums and art galleries in London. And we went there one year. It was pretty cold. And I took a picture of a waiter serving borscht soup out of this big tureen, and it was steaming, and he was serving a family just directly opposite me, and I very candidly took a photograph. It was digital on my Fuji X100, which I had not long purchased. So that's one of my particular favorites because it's candid. It's about the engagement between the waiter and the people, and a bit about food and the historic site of the restaurant.
And it's great you've got those shots to then go back to. It kind of takes you back to that moment. I'm assuming it's
yes, it does, and I'm rather pleased. It's one of my best-selling prints as well. So, so I'm very pleased with that. And another one, right at the other end of the scale, is my model photography. I quite often shoot models in studios just because I love doing it. I love the studio environment as much as I do the open air. But two models that I've photographed over the years and who I know quite well, they work very well together, produced a fantastic boudoir black and white shot, although it's not very boudoir, but the quality of their expressions is wonderful.
Lovely.
So I'm very pleased with that. And that was one I photographed only a month or so ago.
That's great. That's really nice, isn't it? Because it's to have that where actually you don't have to look too far back to shots that put that smile on your face. That it shows that you still got that passion for it, you know, and that passion comes through in and interest in it comes through in the photography that you take.
Oh yes, without a doubt. As I say, I've not lost my passion or interest in it, and just the spontaneity sometimes of photography as a real thrill. And to example that, I was I was at supper with a very long time friend of mine who lives quite close to a big field of corn or barley, I'm not sure what it was, and they were harvesting it at the time I went over for supper one night, and I was hoping that the harvesters would have their lights on the combine harvester. And when I went out to look, they didn't have the lights on, and I was really disappointed, but I waited another half an hour, and sure enough he still went on harvesting with his lights on, and I ran out to take the shot face on of this huge combine harvester with his lights, and the driver or the farmer, I don't know what he was, just slightly silhouetted in his cab against a beautiful sunset. So that's just one of those sort of serendipity choices, you know. So I was very, very pleased with that, and that has sold a lot this week.
Okay.
Because it only happened last month, so very pleased with that.
But there's something about being just prepared to throw yourself into it, I suppose, and not, you know, you're not quite sure what might come from it, but being opportunistic and just going for it is, I think, quite a nice thing, really.
Yes, without a doubt. I think you have to keep your wits about you if you want to make a great photo, but sometimes they just present themselves.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, if someone's, if someone's in, you know, approaching retirement or in retirement, and maybe they have been a photographer, or, you know, but wanting to do photography as part of their retirement, kind of what, any kind of, I don't know, advice you'd give about, you know, how you can make sure you do enjoy, you know, photography without it kind of feeling like a full-time job, which you could argue kind of defeats the purpose of it, doesn't it? But
yes, it does a bit, but I think the thing is to never lose your engagement with what you want to do. And it doesn't have to be every day. I don't photograph every day, but I certainly photograph several days a week of various subjects, topics, even if it's only macro work in my back garden of flowers or insects or whatever. So you can still maintain that interest. Of course, it depends whether or not you've got a lot of other distractions family-wise. I'm fortunate I don't have a family, so I can consider my time my own. And I think a lot of people find that probably a bit difficult because they have other pressures on their time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's, you know, it's great. It's great you're doing it. And, you know, as I said right from, you know, very beginning, you know, you're you know, very kind of active. You see a lot of your work out there on, you know, on social, and, you know, we appreciate you kind of engaging with us, and, you know, and you know, sharing our own content as well. And, you know, it's it's great. It's great to see that, yeah, as you say, when you say about your passion, you're still as passionate as you know now as you were at the start. It's definitely comes through in what you're doing. So really appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to chat. And you know, we may not see you at the show, but we'll probably see you on King's Parade at some point soon.
Definitely. I've been a long time visitor and purchaser at Campkins, so I don't think they'll stop me going in. Thank you, Chris, for asking me to partake. I do appreciate it.
It's been good to chat.
Thank you very much indeed.
And if anyone wants to check out any other interviews, then check out on our YouTube channel, or somewhere near this video we're going to have other videos as well, conversations with photographers. And of course, we have the Cambridge and Norton Photography Show on the 7th of October at the Hilton in Cambridge on Downing Street. General admission tickets are free, so anyone who hasn't got a ticket, go get it. And we also have paid workshops as well. Well, thanks, Francis. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the involvement. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.